weather. Where is El Nino? Let's ask the geoengineers. Why has it not developed as we were told it would? The largest El Nino ever. Why has it not developed? And even though Redding has had, in the valley, has had close to its normal rainfall, we are not getting the normal exponential increases of rain in the mountain areas. It's not happening. Why is it not happening? Because of the level of particulates in the atmosphere. That changes the orographic enhancement effect, the effect of the mountains. So again, it's imperative that people study the climate engineering issue and understand its ramifications. More on that in a moment. The dirty, dingy, wispy climate engineering particulate haze stripes, solar radiation management cloud cover continues to be plastered in our skies on most days over Northern California and elsewhere around the globe. I hear from people all over the globe about this every single day. To believe weather warfare is going on over your head every single day, stand by. As I said before, you'll believe it soon enough. In regard to the ongoing climate engineering assaults, the question of why, of course, and understandably, perplexes those that have not yet taken the time to investigate. Why is our climate being engineered? Though the answers are many and complex, the condensed version is this: for power and control. It's always about power and control. Investigate the U.S. document titled Owning the Weather. The full PDF is available online. Investigate the congressional documents, the presidential documents, the patents, the history of weather warfare and weather modification. It's all there for anybody who chooses to look. If you do so, you'll understand more. Then consider that after 70 years of weather warfare, tearing the climate system apart, and along with many other forms of anthropogenic damage to the biosphere, which many don't want to admit to, all of them impacting the climate system, much of the current geoengineering assault on our planet is for the purpose of masking the true damage already done to the climate system, while at the same time inflicting even more overall damage to the process. Again, this is the pharmaceutical mentality for planet Earth. How many examples do we have to see from the human race? This is the mentality of our modern industrial society, to very destructively try to treat symptoms while making the core of the problem far worse overall. This is the society we live in.
Things in the sky in the morning, these tic-tac-toe patterns all over the place. It's got to be more than just jet fumes and trails, huh?
No, it is. In fact, let me give you the history of this thing, how they started it. You know, they originally started this back in the 40s and the 50s, and they were spraying silver iodide, and that was relatively harmless to the environment compared to what they're doing now. But then they started doing more and more cloud seeding and weather control, and then the military decided they were going to start teaching their Air Force academies how to do this. In fact, they actually have chemtrail classes in the military. You actually pull up the journals, if you'd like, online. And what happens is they're spraying these things through the jet nozzles that go into the engines, and they're creating nanocrystals, and they're being put into the air for the weather radar and for the scalar radar. It creates a particulate plasma that can be activated through microwave energy, such as through piezoelectric crystals or through electric optical properties that can be done through like HARP. You can use HARP, which is microwave energy, in what's called a phased array telescope, or not a telescope, a antenna, George, and you can actually cause this stuff to glow and become incredibly hot, and you can actually heat up a section of it up to 10,000 degrees in just a few seconds. The military want to be able to do that because they have an incoming ICBM missile. They can actually heat this 10,000 degree pocket of air up in front of the missile, and they can actually cause it to explode as soon as it hits this 10,000 degrees. It'll just literally melt the missile, destroying the military vehicle. Strontium and barium and strontium can take these chemtrails into the field of scalar physics. This allows you to up-concentrate energy at any spot you want to. For instance, you can have nuclear bomb-type explosions using chemtrails by creating scalar waves. By discharging, I'll explain to you what those are in a second. By discharging scalar fields, you have massive, massive explosions, and that could be what happened in 1908 when Tunguska had that massive explosion. A lot of people believe that Tesla had actually activated the Warkentif Tower back then, George, and actually just tried to broadcast energy into the North Pole, overshot the North Pole, hit Russia, and wiped out tens of thousands of acres to 2,000 square miles of forest was completely destroyed when he discharged a scalar wave, which is what some people are thinking happened from the Warkentif Tower. The energy can be actually manipulated in the piezoelectric fields. This is what they're spraying with these piezoelectric crystals with the barium and the strontium and the aluminum. You can actually freely move through the field, but it can be triggered by external inputs. You can actually move energy to any place you need to put it. You can make it vibrate. You can turn it up to heat. You can create electromagnetic energy or sound. This is back where the intelligence community comes in now, because they can use sound to make external voice people. They can hear voices. You heard that they've got this term called the voice of God. They can hit you with certain generated energy frequencies by using this technology and make you nauseous, make you want to vomit, make you suicidally depressed within minutes. The military, again, they use the rockets to weather control Earth properties. They can also trigger earthquakes, George. That's one of the things that people don't understand. There are a lot of earthquakes that are being triggered. They're being triggered at the 10-kilometer depth, and the way you do that is just simply plate tectonics. The earthquakes should be evenly distributed throughout the country, but they're not. And this is what's crazy. What you'd have to do is send an 11 hertz signal through, and it can modulate and trigger earthquakes through the use of scalar fields. This is done with James Maxwell's equations, which have been called the second great, unification of physics after Isaac Newton. He's right up there with Einstein. And this is how they move all this energy around the planet. And how they make these scalar waves is if you have two radio waves, like if you have FM radio wave, and you lay one radio wave on top of another radio wave, they have like a little hump in them. They're like a wave you see just like you take a water hose and you shake it, you have a wave go the other way. If you have two waves opposite of each other, and you do them both at the same time with a phased array antenna, what happens is you create a longitudinal wave. They annihilate each other, leaving a longitudinal wave. This is why they have to use phased array systems. And then what happens is if you lay two longitudinal waves over on top of each other, George, you create a scalar wave. And the scalar wave is what picks up the energy from the planet. It can be discharged at any point on the planet. But what's interesting about the scalar waves is they go through time-space according to James Maxwell's equations, and they go into the fourth dimension. That's what's so interesting about them. And all the information about this type of physics is